around, like I'm presenting question two, then we go around, and then we actually go into the questions. So yeah, that's a good idea. Like I'm saying, hi, my name is Tula, I'm presenting question two, and you go on and say, hi, I'm Ryan, I'm presenting question. Go around for like the first overview.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, can we just say the question all in one?
What would you?
Like question two, and then you say the question.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait.
You know, like.
For the introduction, or when
Don't
we
we just
actually
all
present
just go around and introduce ourselves?
That's
or
what, yeah. That's what,
Okay.
okay. Hi, my name is Matilda, and I'm presenting question five.
Hi, my name is Ren. I'm presenting question 5.
Hi, I'm Marcus. I have question 6.
I'm Brian. I got a question.
I'm Ariel. I have question 4.
I'm Ian, I have question 3.
I'm Liam, I have question 7.
I'm Sam. I have question 9.
Okay, we are starting with question 2. The question was, one important aspect to this novel is gender roles and social expectations. What gender roles do you see being expected of our characters in this section of the book, and how do they reflect in your culture? At first, I kind of saw Pequena is expected, or her as like our most prevalent female character, she's expected to keep her head down and take herself back from an early age, and that kind of flows through the book, that girls don't really have a voice, and their only like chance of survival is kind of to find a husband with whom they are supposed to start a family with, and then because also jobs for women are like either kind of looked down upon or very bad paid.
Oh, yes, I agree. And I feel like that connects to how later in the book she needs to like cut off her hair and like dress as a boy, so nobody the group encounters while they're traveling knows that she's a girl.
Yeah.
So she doesn't face like mistreatment.
Yeah, and I also noticed in the book, like Polga or Kenya, after she has the baby, she's like Ruth's mom's like really pushing, oh, better take care of this baby. This is your responsibility. Like the entire responsibility of the baby is like placed on her and not like a shared thing like with the husband.
I also noticed that like when she went to the market, everybody was congratulating her, even though it really wasn't like for her. It clearly isn't something she should be like. The baby isn't something that should be celebrated because of the circumstances behind it.
Also, another like relating to that, I think it's really interesting because it's almost like she's being seen as more of like something that's making a baby and not like her own actual person. And like I've heard stories of that happening just like in general, of like pregnant mothers being asked how the baby is and like how's the baby doing, but never about how she's doing. So yeah, I think that's really interesting.
And also I think kind of what you're saying, that she's being perceived as like as if like she fulfilled her duty as a woman, and now she's like kind of her being a mother is kind of like fulfilling her role in society, and kind of also shows us that women as like their own person, but also like as like careers or whatever don't really exist, because her only like sole purpose is to reproduce.
Yeah, I was gonna say that Ray also is like pushing that onto her also, and the thing with what Marcus said about her cutting her hair off, I think, crap, what was I gonna say? I was gonna like connect that to her like trying to push away like that responsibility almost of or like how society perceives women as only like like their only purpose is making babies, and she's like saying no to that and trying to make herself look more like a boy so she doesn't have that burden.
Oh yeah, I think that's also like kind of her being aware of how badly women are treated and endangered by like being on like a journey like that, but also maybe like her like from her like kind of herself pushing away that part of herself, like kind of leaving that behind, like her as a woman, because she like connects that like kind of that I think like to her past and like the expectations that are being
And so notice that early on she's really being expected to be like a stay-at-home wife almost, while the husband goes out and do work, which was very prevalent in
also what's different, I think, than from our culture, I think they're the husband, or like not even the husband, the dad of the kid is like held to no responsibility. I think it's kind of accepted that he's just not there, and I think also like her getting pregnant that early of an age is kind of like almost common there, and just like also men being let off the hook, kind of.
She didn't want him involved though, which that's the thing too, is like he tried to get involved even in the first like few, like when you like discovered that she had her baby or whatever, like he tried to get involved but she didn't want him because he's like really gross. Yeah. So
Oh yeah, I guess, yeah, I agree. I feel like I think that's her parent or her mom kind of leaves her the choice to not like pressure her into like staying in contact with him. But I think it seems to me that that's like more of a personal choice of the mom and not like the society kind of being.
I mean, I remember that like Ray didn't even tell the mother that, like, because they don't even know who the baby is at that part of the book, and like they leave before that even gets known to like most people other than like, oh, where did you go? So along with that, I also thought like at the market, like there was like a store and like the contraceptives and the switchblades were both at like the same section from the shop, as if they were like purchased together more often. So like it shows that like women are in danger in like the society that they live in, and that like they need to protect themselves like in both ways.
Yeah. I think kind of connecting that to how our culture or society kind of is right now. I think there's still systemic issues and systemic discrimination and inequality. But I think nowadays, I mean, like things like women are still more likely to experience violence in general, especially domestic violence by their partner. But nowadays, I think there's more resources or the choice to kind of either access help or kind of follow through with a different path of life. Like you're not. There's still the expectation for women to like have kids and like careers often more like a second choice or something, or second priority. But nowadays you're not forced to it as much anymore, and kind of women have are like allowed to choose a bit more.
Should probably move on to the next question.
Okay.
Alright.
Yeah, for sure.
So I got number 3, and it's what roles
We
do
do
you...
number 1.
Wait, no, we don't have a number 1. Nobody's doing number 1. And then, so I had question 3, and it was, what roles do you see being played out with respect to age? Find some examples of that in the text. And then, and what are the norms you see in relation to age in your own culture? Like, I thought that something like is relating to age is that, like, by teenage years, I think in like Guatemala, well, in the Puerto Barrios, wherever they are, like they need to like I think it's expected of them to like accept their society and like for all the flaws it has, and like not let it affect them, even though it definitely does. And like I think like for teenage boys especially, like they're getting indoctrinated into gangs, or else they'll get killed, or like some of their family will. And I think that has something to do with age. Like by the time you're a teenager, you're expected to be an adult and accept everything around you, when a lot of it is traumatic and like life altering. And I feel like it's pretty different from our culture.
Also getting time to grow up, I feel like is different here, like in America or the Western world, that you kind of, you're not expected to have it all figured out by the time you're like 13 or something.
Mm-hmm. Like you're not expected to see like
Yeah.
multiple people get murdered by the
Yeah.
time you're like 13.
Yeah.
And say like, never mind.
I was thinking, I feel like in the Americas, or like North America, like US specifically, I feel like it's both ways. Like like teenagers specifically are expected to grow up, but also if they're too grown or like too mature, then they're like expected to be or act younger, I guess. And yeah, I feel like it's different from Holga's story and Chico's story.
Just remember in the book, Olga was talking about like, I need to have like a heart of steel or something like that to like not let his emotions show to people even when traumatic things happen. And I think that was a big part of like growing up there in respects to age.
And I was like kind of during the thing where on the beasts that Olga kind of takes on like a brother or like sisterly relationship with Chico, like helping him out, or you know.
I think also one thing is here in our society it's kind of more judged like what exactly you do, and in the book it seems like people almost don't really care about like how you present as long as you can fit in. And I think that like yeah, I think that's kind of how I perceive the differences.
You want to move on to the next one?
Alright, I have the fourth question, which was, what are the deciding factors for Polga when he plans to leave? Do you think that they are strong enough, or do you think they are strong enough that leaving makes sense? The factors that I noticed were, well, obviously like him being forced into Ray's gang to carry out tasks, and like if Polga and Chico were to like try to tell somebody, like I'm pretty sure at some point Ray said, if you tell anybody, like we're going to kill you. And so they couldn't like get out of that. The only way they could get out of that was by leaving or by dying, and they chose to leave. And I think another factor was Don Felicio being shot and killed, and that's what got like Ray to force them into the gang. And I think, I mean, just being involved in a gang, like being forced into that, I think is a pretty strong factor in itself to leave. I think it's like very hard to get out of. Like what I was saying, it's like two ways. You either like leave, like escape the country, or you die. And yeah, I think those are strong enough factors.
Yeah, and like hopping off like what you said, like both Polga and Chico, like both active witness to crime, and that's how they like Ray got them like roped in, so they're in like a very dangerous situation, and their like currently living situation isn't, I guess, that well. So they really just want to get out, you know, like you said, before they get killed, and so that, you know, they can maybe find like some way to work and send money back to their like parents, so they can get better, so parents can live a better life, and you know, really avoid that life of crime, of being like drafted into a gang. And honestly, I feel like that in of itself is like a very strong reason. Like a lot of immigrants leave there to like leave their countries and immigrate to the United States or wherever they go to like get a better life, or so they can also support the people they left behind, like sending whatever they can back to any family or friends they left behind in their home country.
I also agree. I think that the like killing of the gang was more of a tipping point almost. I think we kind of see Polga building up that like resentment or kind of see his resentment that he built up like over the years. And especially then when Don Felicio got killed, I think he lists off all the terrible things he saw happening. And I think because he has more of his mindset is less like fixed on how the world has to be. I think he has like a different, I don't know, kind of his outlook on life is a bit different than I think a couple other people who live in the barrios have. And I think he kind of sees it as a possibility, and like there is something out there. And I think it was definitely a reason for him to leave. And I think even before all that stuff happened, I would have like understood why he left. But I think that was more like a now or never kind of situation. And,
Yeah.
I definitely agree.
I forgot to mention that like it was a tipping point, like all of the stuff that was leading up to it, like just building up like you said, and then yeah, I feel like both Don Felicio being shot and also them being forced into the gang because of that. Yeah, I think both of those events like were really the tipping point.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still going, so I didn't make it.
Yes, one.
I have question 5. It is, what are the deciding factors for Peking when she decides to leave? Do you think she makes a good decision? I think it's kind of for a few reasons, but I think one of the biggest ones is she doesn't want to marry Ray, and give like a better life to her and her baby, and then also help Chico and Polga. So, and I think it is a good decision because I think if she didn't do that, then it wouldn't be good for her baby, or for her family. So.
Yeah, and just piggybacking off what we said earlier about number 2 about gender roles, we also see that women in her current situation aren't really being treated really well, and like she's literally being ignored by her husband, who in of itself is not a good man by any means. So she, in her want to immigrate America is her want to like escape this societal pressure of like gender norms, like being treated well. She wants to escape to America so she can be seen as, maybe even seen as human, like, and not just seen as someone who's a girl or woman who just makes babies and stays at home for their husbands. Like she could be seen maybe as something more.
Yes.
I feel like that's a strong reason for wanting to leave.
I definitely agree. I think also kind of we see her, I don't know if that's in that part, but at some point she makes up a new name for herself, and I think that's kind of how we see her rejecting her past, and for one, like her being not like this like baby machine, or not even baby machine, but just like her seen as like not a person, but then also like her, like she just like explains how she feels disgusting with Ray, and how he, I don't know, how he, that's just like a terrible feeling to be in, and I think it's both sides of her personal life that's just really terrible at the moment, or like her, what has happened to her, but also just the society that is like less than good for any, like less than even okay for a woman to live in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely she's trying to make a life for herself even after not wanting the baby at all, and not even wanting to do the things that make the baby, being like sexually assaulted multiple times by Ray and stuff, and so I think it's like admirable that she like goes up from that.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing, I think we can also see that her coping mechanism is not like being sad or crying, but she just fully shuts out things, and like all throughout the book, and I think that's her way of shutting out the barriers, and everything that's happened is to escape.
You ready to move on?
Yes.
I have question number 6, which is describe the major challenges that Chico faces in this part of the novel. How are they specific to him? In this specific part of the novel, like, part 1, mostly it's that he's too nice. Not too nice, but he's like kind of sensitive, and like it makes it harder for him to like stand up to people that are trying to hurt him, or just like kind of brave enough to like do all the things that he needs to do to like go to the place that he wants to go.
Yeah, I'd say like when they were like getting pulled over to like Ray's like shack or whatever to like be indoctrinated, like he didn't want to fight Polga, even though it probably would have been like get them out of the situation, because Hart doesn't want to hurt somebody, so Polga had to nag him on just to get him to fight so they can leave the situation. And like I feel like that kind of challenges him because he just wants to help other people, but that's really hard in the situation in Guatemala.
Wait, what was the first part of the question again?
Describe the major challenges that Chico faces in this part of the novel.
Yeah, so kind of bringing up Don Felicio and how he was shot, and also how Chico's mom was killed too. I think he's struggling with both of those events, like at the same time. Like, I don't know, I just wanted to make like a connection between those and how he's struggling with both of those events and also being forced into the gang and like you guys were saying, like him being overly sensitive and not wanting to fight Olga when they both get forced into the gang. I don't know, that's just what I wanted to connect on.
No, like, I fully agree on this. I think
I feel so
him,
special.
like his mom dying at such a young age probably said like keeps him. He's kind of like kept in that. Every time something like that happens, he's probably sent back to that memory or that like even like to that like PTSD, like the trauma he experienced, and he's like kind of. I don't know. I think that kind of he also almost holds him back, but then also thinking like in my opinion, he's not overly sensitive. He's like a very reasonable, healthy amount of sensitive. He's just like not accommodating to the world they live in, and I think most people do. And I think I would want to like punch my friend even if I have to. Like I could not. And I think that's because we don't have to in our society. But I think he's just his challenge is kind of that he's not accommodating to such like a rough lifestyle, and I think but his behavior is in itself, in my opinion, like very healthy, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he never saw his like mom actually die, so I think that like being like he's kind of obsessed with death, kind of like I feel like whenever he sees like when he saw like Don Felicio, I feel like he probably got huge PTSD because he never even got to saw his mom after she got shot, so I feel like that might add to like his like I don't know,
I agree.
like not adapting to like rough lifestyle for those barrios.
So I did question 7. It was based on the first part of the book. Do Polga, Chico, and Pequeña have the same chances to survive the difficult journey they are facing? Why or why not? And I said that they don't have the same chances because Chico and Polga were wrapped into a gang, and then Pequeña was like stuck dealing with Ray and like how he wanted to marry her, and she was trying to escape that. And then with Polga and Chico like getting threatened if they tried to like tell or like get their way out of the gang, they would get killed. So, and then like further in the book when Chico hit his head too, then he like
I'd say that Chico probably wouldn't have the best chance of survival. Considering he really wasn't like, I'd say not the most like excited about this trip. Like he wasn't in it to win it, as best I could put it. Like he really wasn't like, he didn't really have like a big reason to want to escape. And I'd say probably also wasn't like that physically prepared for it, which I'd say lowered his chances and led him, and then hitting his head that lowered his chances because he had a head injury, which of course doesn't help you think, and concussion. Yeah, so I'd say Chico had the lowest chance of survival.
Yeah, I agree. I think also what we touched on before, that Polga kind of has this different outlook on life, that there's like possibility and like options outside of the barriers, and I think Pequeña kind of has that too, or at least like she's opening up to that, to like these kind of, maybe there's a life outside of their current situation. I think Chico, he very much is like, he doesn't have like that intrinsic motivation that I think Polga and Pequeña have, and I think that kind of, you need to like really in it for that journey because it's so like physically and mentally demanding. And I think we can tell from the beginning that Chico's kind of like less, I wouldn't even say less brave, but just like not as like a hard.
Like a gentle giant.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up like with the differences between Polga and Chico escaping and Pequeña escaping. Like I feel like it's somewhat similar because they're escaping the same person, but it's so like it's different. Like the circumstances are way different. Like Polga and Chico are escaping him because of a gang, and Pequeña is escaping him because he wants to have a family with Pequeña, and she's not ready for that, and she was forced into that. I don't know.
I think it's also like more difficult for Bacania in some circumstances too, because she has to like try to like if she like went as herself, she'd definitely be taken advantage of like a lot on the train. So she had to be really aware of that. So I'd say the journey might even be more difficult for her, like the journey itself. Like going into it, I feel like all of them, I feel like Bacania probably had the lowest chances because she's inherently a woman and would get taken advantage of by like men on the Bestia.
And also she just had a baby, like that's her body is like ripped. And I think I agree, like the outside or like the outside chances of them is probably Pequeña the least, but I think it's that you have to have such a strong willpower, and I think like mentally Chico is like
I agree
the
with that.
least likely to.
I feel like physically, but I don't know. I feel like everybody has like a different amount of chances for different reasons.
Do you want to move on?
Sure.
Where's number 8?
I got number 8. Question is, what do we understand and learn about Polga and his traumatic experiences in part 1 of the book? And how is he physically and emotionally affected by it? In my opinion, from what I know of the book, is that Polga experienced some traumatic stuff like gang murder stuff one time, and the journey was like constant fear and guilt, especially like after he was with his best friend along the way, and the experiences looking physically exhausted and emotionally numb, showing us how much trauma a person can carry while trying to find a safe place. That's what I wrote.
Yeah, I feel like he's very like specifically in the first part he's very like driven to run away from stuff. Like I remember when they got out of the van, like they kept hopping into the van and then running out. Like he was very pushed to keep running, and also not to bring up Don Felicio again, but like he was like just really trying to get out of there. He was dissociating, but also like trying to get out at the same time. So in my opinion, like it felt like he was going in slow-mo almost and trying to get out of there as fast as he can. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I agree. I think, especially in the first part, we can kind of see that his experiences kind of shape him, especially with his dad. Also, I think he kind of like yearns for something that he's never had, and I think because his dad was also American, right? I think he had a different like outlook on stuff already, and I think also him just being very like prone to like I would say like, dreaming or like reaching higher. I think we can kind of tell how his behavior throughout the book will kind of change, or will kind of like stay being like very driven to keep going and run and like actually kind of follow through with the journey.
Is that all?
That's 9.
Okay.
Is there somebody with 9?
I have 9. So, question 9 is define magical realism. And magical realism is a style used by authors that combines magical or fantasy elements with real world settings and can treat events like they're supernatural or ordinary, not explained in a normal world, and sometimes authors use this to look at complicated themes in books, and where the author of We're Not Familiar use this in writing, I feel like I saw it like during the dream when they're riding the beast, and the reason why I think she did this is to show like, you know, like the journey and like the pain and risks that immigrants take by going on the beast to like escape to a better life, like a magical journey where at the end all of your dreams will be made true and you'll have a better life. But there's all this pain and like danger in the middle, and I feel like it's effective because it elevates the story and almost like creates a entirely new world within the story, that this magical world exists alongside the main character's own experiences. Like a world inside a world almost.
I agree, and I think also in this book, magical realism was like mostly used to kind of express how the characters are feeling. And I think for one part, like especially Polga's or their like perception of the beast and the journey, what you said, I think that was very much a part of it. But also in my like from what I've read from her, like Pequeña's, she always imagined that like what even is that, like a not ghost but like that
It's
lady
like
like
I think it's
spirit.
La Bruja in
Yeah.
Spanish, but I think it's a witch.
Yeah, that like
Okay.
almost like a spirit that comes to her in like her like dreams and kind of her when she dissociates, and I think that kind of is their way of kind of stomaching what they're experiencing, and her kind of yeah, I think that's here it's mostly used like their way of coping differently, and because they all escape in like their own magical world almost to kind of live that life because it's so tough and mentally like demanding to see that much pain. Yeah, they escape into other worlds to cope.
I guess we're done.